Okay, when I sent this clip to you, I think that you actually thought that this woman might be a psychopath. That was one of the words that you said. I don't know if she's a psychopath, but like, or if this is just something that women are sort of doing that we've become desensitized to, but we're going to get into a discussion on that. This clip is unbelievable. It's just incredible.
As a hoe in the game for
Sorry, it just starts off so good.
We're about to be.
Starts with, as a hoe, like, great, awesome.
We're about to be treated to a beautiful display of mental health, I'm sure.
As a hoe in the game for quite a long time now, I played all kinds of cards, you guys. Like, all kinds of cards. Like, the nerdy card, the cool card, bad card, smart girl card, independent girl card, weak girl card. I don't fucking know. I played everything. My primary goal and my definition of success is dating the richest guy. I'm not saying the cutest, richest guy in the fucking area. Okay? And let me tell you, it's not the bad card that gets me anywhere. It's not any other card, but it's the innocent card. The innocent, cute girl, like, oh, and I think maybe it has to do with the Asian looks too, but like the kawaii cute. Oh my god. Attracting Jeff Bezos left and right. The bad card, I played it for a long time because I thought it was attracting the guys that I wanted, but no, they're all fucking broke. They're broke and they want an independent bad to pay for them.
Why would a woman overtly advertise herself as a whore? Like, how does that benefit her? Tell me, riddle me that if you wouldn't mind.
I suppose she thinks she's really good at it. And so she has wisdom to share. And she's like possibly so self-involved and so blind to the idea that there are actually women out there who are seeking genuine connections with men. Like, she's like, no, we are all on the same page. Men are just resources to be exploited. We all just want the richest men possible, right? Well, I have figured out how to do that. Like, I've got the winning strategy. And so I imagine myself dispensing these pearls of wisdom to all the young, impressionable girls out there who obviously want to do exactly what I'm doing and be like me. And then I'm going to gain a whole big social media following because people will be so grateful for my advice. Before we go on, I'm happy to let you know that this video is made in collaboration with Yours app, the most affordable mindfulness app on the market and the highest quality as well. You can click on the link in the description box below right now and start trying it. It's a freemium product, so you can check out its features, see if you like it. No surprises, one of the features that I love, and I'm guessing since you guys like this channel, you're gonna love this as well, are the psychology talks. The Yours app team have actually told me that it's their most popular feature, and it's not surprising why. The information is solid, delivered by clinical psychologists who are speaking in a way that's informative but also easy to understand. They've got lots of great topics, understanding emotions, managing stress, even some great relationship stuff. So if your girlfriend or date is running late to the restaurant, don't just pull out TikTok on your phone, pull out Yours app, listen to one of the psychology talks. Bonus, when she arrives, you'll have something interesting to chat to her about from the start. But the Yours app is so much more than just psychology talks. They've got meditations, they've got yoga classes, they've got a huge selection of chill out music, and also these great stories that you can put on when you're trying to go to sleep, always uplifting. It's all there in one app, convenient and affordable, and the 7-day trial is free. And if you purchase it, they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. So there really is no risk. There's no reason to not try it, especially since they're giving my audience a 60% discount if you just click on the link in the description box below or use code GRACE at checkout. Thanks again to Yours app for partnering with me on this video. All right, let's get back to the topic.
Well, let's get into her claim though, because while that was certainly quite unpleasant to listen to, she did make an interesting claim in there about the innocent card being the most compelling, attractive element that she uses. And why that? Why not these other ones that she laid out?
I don't think that men who have money are automatically going to be the most like masculine men. Like, you can kind of think of like tech entrepreneurs and like engineers and things like that. If her aim is just to get like the richest men possible, then she might actually be specifically seeking out kind of nerdy, a little bit weak, a little bit feminine kind of men. And so coming at them with like really like intense bad bitch, like, I'm a female goddess, power to me, that energy is probably going to be intimidating to a lot of men, because who wants to date a woman who's more masculine than you are? And so she's playing up like the innocent, like, oh, I just don't kind of know anything, because she's trying to appeal like non-threatening to their ego.
Gotcha. So it's a form of preserving his image of himself in a certain sense, and almost, I would say, because it's conscious, exploiting a man's natural desire to protect, to provide, to guide, to teach, to shelter, to remove pain from the woman so that she will be happier. But what's the difference, would you say, between innocence and femininity? Because I can't imagine that those two are the same necessarily.
They're not the same, but they can often appear to be the same. Like the outward facade of innocence and femininity can appear to be identical to the undiscerning eye, but femininity does not rely on naivety or ignorance. So like what's innocent? Like a child is innocent, in the sense. And so they kind of just do what people tell them to do, adults, trusted figures of authority, because they're like, look, I'm a kid. Like everyone around me seems to understand what's going on in this world a lot better than I do. And so they just naturally follow that authority. They're kind of submissive to authority in a sense. And the thing is that innocence can often be mistaken for femininity, because, well, what does femininity do? It often just defers to the man's leadership, gets sheltered in his masculinity, and then plays its kind of feminine role. And so both innocence and femininity can kind of have that deference to masculinity, deference to authority. But the difference is that femininity doesn't require ignorance or naivety in order to find its expression. You could find a woman who's extraordinarily well accomplished, creative, intelligent, emotionally self-aware, high self-esteem, but because she's a woman and because she's interested in exploring her femininity, she finds a really high quality man, someone who appeals to hypergamy, and she plays the feminine role, not out of a sense of she has to because she doesn't know any better, but because she wants to be a woman. She likes feeling femininity. It's pleasurable. She has evolved instincts to feel pleasure being in the presence of a man who satisfies her hypergamy. And so she is submissive in the best, most empowering way possible to use that term. She's submissive to him. Now, an innocent woman, like innocent, naive, she could also be submissive to that man. But here's the real kicker, is that she would kind of be submissive to any man, because if she's genuinely naive and innocent, then she's like, everyone seems to know better than me. And so this is why I think, like, you can say that a man who is not very well developed in his masculinity is going to be quite happy settling just for innocence, even though he'd probably prefer femininity. He's like, I'm not, strong enough, I'm not masculine enough, I'm not high quality enough to actually get a genuinely feminine woman. I'm just going to go for kind of the dumbest, most naive woman possible, because I want someone to submit to me. So I'm happy to settle for the illusion of a feminine submissive partner rather than actually earning it.
You've consistently, over the course of most of your channel, I would say, celebrated femininity as a beautiful virtue that women who have it should feel proud of and should own, right, quite comfortably in pairing with a masculine man. But is innocence a virtue, or it almost sounds like you're painting it as like not so much a bad thing, but as an immaturity that should be transcended? Do you think if a woman is innocent and she's in prime dating years, is that actually a hindrance to her ability to find a high quality man?
Yes. I don't think innocence is necessarily like a positive thing. I do think that, like, as men, my instinct is to protect innocence. If I see a child, if I see a woman who's very innocent, if I see a young and upcoming man, like, I want to, mentor him. I don't like judge. I'm not shaming people for the state of innocence, but I definitely think it's a state that you should be striving to overcome. And the danger for a woman who is very innocent is that she doesn't have the proper discernment to be able to tell who's high quality and who's not, because in her state of ignorance, everybody seems like an authority figure. And this is why I think that, like, genuine, like, predators, like men, they specifically seek out young, innocent women who don't know any better. And so if it came to, like, discussing, like, my own daughter when she's older, I'm definitely not going to be like, hey, stay innocent forever. That's a good strategy. I'm going to be like, no, get really, really wise to the ways of the world, the ways of women, the ways of men. But of course, I don't think that she necessarily has to sacrifice her femininity in order to do that. I think that's, quite frankly, it's a sexist idea. The idea that innocence and femininity are linked, or that they have to be linked, is completely nonsensical. I think that you can be the most incredible, accomplished woman in the world and still be feminine.
Thank you for mapping out what you consider to be the kind of positive opposite of innocence, which is wisdom. I can hear the comment section saying things like kind of synonymizing innocence and purity, and thinking that those are kind of the same thing. Whereas it sounds like you don't think they are. First of all, do you think purity as like as a virtue is something that's really intelligible from the perspective that you usually take, and if so, then how does that relate to innocence?
Okay, so it's incredibly fragile. Let's talk about sexual purity in a moment. Let's just first talk about intellectual purity. If a girl has been through her life and she's only been exposed to positive experiences, and she just has this sunny rainbow lollipops view of the world, in a sense, you could say that her positive outlook is extremely pure, and there is a sense of, oh God, I want to help preserve that. I admire that. Like, there's possibly a part inside all men that yearns for their own lost innocence. And rather than trying to seek it out for themselves, when they see innocence, purity, like in a genuinely beautiful form, there's an instinct to like, I want to pick up my sword and shield and then beat off anybody who'd come and destroy this, because this flower is just so beautiful and pure that I want to protect it. I get that, but from my perspective, is incredibly arrogant to assume that as a man, you're actually going to be able to fulfill that task. As a father, it's your job to do that for the first, 18 years or however long. But really, you've kind of failed in your role as a father, if you think that her protection against the darker aspects of existence and humanity is only ever going to come from you, because you're not going to be there and all the time. And so that involves exposing your daughter or the women in your lives to the darker sides of humanity, and then helping them understand it and discern it.
You've heard the phrase, don't prepare the road for the child, prepare the child for the road.
So what about you personally, Matt? Are you attracted to innocence as a trait in women?
No, actually, historically, especially when I was younger, I was usually drawn to women older than me. I really appreciate a woman who knows what the hell she's doing, who's lived some life. I don't mean to castigate men who have this, but I'm not nearly as concerned with being the leader and the one who's been there, let me show you my ways kind of perspective, because there's so much I have to learn as well. I'd rather have someone who is kind of on par with me in a lot of ways, and it's sort of an existential egalitarianism. The desire to have a woman who is less than I am in some fundamental ways actually is sad to me. And I know that that's kind of how hypergamy works, but I kind of lament that.
Okay. Well, this will be an interesting discussion, because I am not like you at all. I totally get the appeal.
I get the appeal. I personally don't want it.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
you don't have to want it. And I think in some senses, it might actually speak more positively to your character that it isn't appealing to you. You could definitely make that case. But for me, like, the idea of like some gorgeous, wide-eyed, like young girl who just thinks I'm amazing and thinks everything I show her is amazing, and like if I tell her about the world and the things I've learned, she's just like, oh my God, that's so interesting. Like that I totally get that appeal. I'm not particularly proud of that part of myself, and I think that it's something that I need to be conscious of. And one of the reasons I wanted to cover this topic is because I think that men need to be aware of their own desire for innocence as a virtue to seek in their women, and to try and discuss the difference between that and femininity. But the reason why I think that I'm so cautious about it is because I can see that it's a very cheap shortcut to your own self-esteem, kind of putting the responsibility of seeing yourself as amazing in the hands of someone who is inclined that way. Because if you were the genuinely innocent girl who's just easily impressed by everything that you're doing, then you can kind of live vicariously through her. You can just be like, right, like, she thinks I'm fantastic, and like, oh, I feel great when I'm around her because I can just see the way that she's looking at me, and then I can live off that kind of ego boost.
I want to ask you this question. I have had some experience. One of my relationships, she was rather younger than me, and I felt myself drawn to this role of like kind of the guide and the leader and the perspective of instruction and whatnot. And you know how men often seek mothering from their women. Do some men seek to be a father to women? Is it almost like an inversion of that, where they want a woman who's dependent on them because it's this other kind of codependency? And then hypothetically, some women would seek to mother men and their partners, but then they come to resent those men later on. What do you think of that?
Oh man, we're getting so Oedipal here, and like Freud is just like, yes, but honestly,
oh god, yeah, he is.
from my perspective, oh gosh, I have no idea if this is common sense or if everyone's gonna be like, this is the least PC thing Alex has ever said, but I think that archetypally, a lot of men kind of want to raise their own mothers. So what you can see is when a man comes across a woman who's really wide-eyed and innocent, he's like, yes, I kind of want to play that father figure role for her and help her grow into an amazing person, someone who loves and adores me, someone who's well cultivated in their femininity. And then at a certain stage, once they've done that, they want to make that transition and then go and become the son and then look to that woman to then mother them. Almost so like men who perhaps had a fractured relationships with their own mother, they're looking to kind of create the perfect woman, the perfect mothering figure. And it's like, right, if I can be in charge of bringing her up and helping her become that kind of woman, then it's going to finally be safe for me to regress, to become that little boy again, and then look to her to solve all of my emotional needs.
Definitely controversial, although I like how you juxtaposed common sense and non-PC, as if things that are not PC aren't usually common sense.